you to my teacups and my sippers for joining us for another episode of Tombstone Tea, where we have been going over the Blues Hall of Fame here on YouTube. On Patreon, we have been doing other things, so join Patreon over there. But for now, we are going to go ahead and continue with the Blues Hall of Fame inductees that are buried here in Chicago from 1995 to 2000. In 1995, we had the induction of Jimmie Rodgers. In 97, we inducted KoKo Taylor. In 98, we inducted Junior Wells and Luther Allison. And our last video, we went to 1991 inductee Leonard Chess. So if you have not seen that, make sure that you go ahead and check out that video. If you go to our playlist on our channel, you can go ahead and click on Blues Hall of Fame and it'll show you all of our videos that we have covered. We have everything in the playlist nice and easy for you. So go ahead and check that out and make sure you join us also on Patreon. So let's go ahead and get into the first Hall of Famer. Jimmie Rodgers, also known as J. Arthur Lane, was born in Mississippi in 1924, and he was a guitar and harmonica player for Muddy Waters band in the 50s. He learned how to play harmonica from Snooky Pryor, and he also played with Robert Lockwood Jr. in East St. Louis before moving to Chicago in the mid-40s. He recorded for Harlem Records, which was owned by J. Mayo Williams, who we'll visit a little bit later. His single "That's All Right," Chicago Bound, and Walking by Myself, especially "That's All Right," was considered a blues staple by the Blues Foundation. He joined Muddy's band in the late 40s and recorded for Chess, including a couple of singles that featured Big Walter Horton and Little Walter on the harmonica. He worked for Howlin' Wolf's band in the 60s, and then he took a break. He owned a clothing store that burned down in the 68 riots after the death of Dr. King. And in the 70s and 80s, he returned to recording and performing with Muddy Waters full-time in Europe until his death. He died December of 1997 from colon cancer, and he is resting here at Restville. Now, if you haven't seen our video before on KoKo Taylor, make sure that you go ahead and check out our video on Washington Memory Gardens, where we visited KoKo Taylor and Bernie Mac. She was named Cora Ann Walton, and she was born a member of a sharecropping family. She moved to Chicago with her husband, Robert Taylor, and played in blues clubs until she was discovered by Willie Dixon of Checker, and he brought her over to Checker Records. Her recorded single, Wang Dang Doodle, for Checker Records was like her best-selling single and most known single. If you remember, we got to see that at the Chicago History Museum. She was signed to Alligator Records, where she recorded 9 albums. 8 of those albums were nominated for a Grammy. She won 29 out of the 32 W.C. Handy Blues Awards that she was nominated for. During her life, she opened a club in downtown Chicago. She made an appearance in the Blues Brothers 2000 film, and she died in 2009 at age 90 from complications from surgery. So she is resting here in Washington Memory Gardens, and this is the blues legend KoKo Taylor. Now, in Washington Memory Gardens, there are 2 legends that were laid next to each other, Luther Allison and KoKo Taylor. Luther Allison was born in August of 1939 in Arkansas. He toured with a gospel group called the Southern Travelers in the 40s with his siblings, and in the early 50s, he moved to Chicago with his family. He was actually classmates at Farragut High School with Muddy Waters' son. He dropped out of school and joined Howlin' Wolf's band and played with Freddie King, Magic Sam, and Otis Rush. Chicago Reader named him the Jimi Hendrix of the blues guitar. He moved to California for a year to play with Sunnyland Slim, who we visited earlier. He signed to Delmark Records, and he also played in the 1969 Ann Arbor's Blues Fest. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1998. In 72, he signed to Motown. He toured Europe. He moved to France in 77. He was signed to Alligator Records. And his 94 album, Soul Fixin' Man, won 4 W.C. Hardy Blues Awards. And he died from a lung tumor that metastasized to his brain August 12th of 1997. And here he is at Washington Memory Gardens. In 1998, they also inducted Junior Wells. His real name is Amos Wells Blakemore Jr., and he's resting here in Oakwood Cemetery. He was born December 9th, 1934, and he performed with Muddy Waters, Earl Hooker, who we'll visit later, and he also toured with the Rolling Stones. His single Messing with the Kid was his signature song. He was born and raised in West Memphis, Arkansas, and he was taught the harmonica by his cousin, Herman Little Jr. Parker, who was also inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame, and also Sonny Boy Williamson, too, who was also inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. He moved to Chicago in the late 40s, and he joined the group The Aces. He replaced Little Walter in Muddy's band, and he also recorded at Chess Records, State Records, Chief Records, and Profile record companies. And he also appeared in the Blues Brothers 2000 film in 1998. He died in 1998, January of 1998, at the age of 68 from a heart attack and cancer. That concludes our Blues Hall of Fame from the years 1995 to 1999 or 2000. I hope that you all subscribe to our Patreon, where we're doing different things over there. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers so far. It is free for the first 30 days right now. We have different tier levels, so I hope that you all join us. We went through Graceland Cemetery, and we actually had a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen that video, go on over to our Patreon, sign up for free, and check out all of the information that we had on those famous graves. And the next graves that we are going to go finish are Blues 2001 to 2005. That'll be our next video, where we see Dinah Washington and J. Mayo Williams. See you next time.